Welcome back, everyone, to Never Points North. Tonight in the studio, we have...
The Green Witch!
Yeah!
Florence!
Yeah! Hanging out in the bed with Riley one more time.
The Angel of Death!
That's right.
Pew pew! Pew pew!
Pew pew!
That is what I'm pretty much going to be known for now.
Pew pew!
And barfing.
And barfing. And Mini Steve.
And Mini Steve.
Which I came before Steve, bro.
How did you get up on the...
Roof.
How'd you get up on the
I don't
roof?
know. Ask management.
Anyways, so we're going to be talking about all these things that happened during haunt season. We talked about our first week, and now we are off. October 31st was the last night, and we have had time to sleep and somewhat have our aches and pains go away.
We have?
I am Bree, and always we have Jax in the studio.
Hello.
One day we will get Mike back in here.
That's a busy man.
Maybe next week. He's a busy man. Maybe next week, but we're hanging out on Tuesday, so I'm super excited about that. But let's talk about this haunt experience, including, you, Talon, being up on the roof.
How'd you get on the roof?
But let's talk. We're going to talk about funny moments. We're going to talk about sad moments. Our end of year retirement procession. We had, from talking with people, there was a large exodus during the 40th anniversary of haunt, and we now once again have had a mass exodus during the 50th.
Yeah.
It seems that people try to get to those milestones. This was a very large milestone for Not Scary Farm being its 50th year anniversary, its golden anniversary. And I personally feel that this was a special year.
Mm-hmm.
This was a special year for everyone. I
Yeah.
don't know how you guys felt, but
Yeah.
I agree with that.
like there was just like something about it that I've never felt in the 7 years of haunting at this point.
I realized it at Scare School, and I was telling some of the other monsters and management that had asked, how was Scare School? And that just going through Scare School, the energy between all of the monsters just felt very natural and very cohesive. Whereas last year's Scare School, you could tell all of us kind of had those jitters. We were all a little bit apprehensive of not of each other, but the new people coming in. And this year it was just pure excitement from the get-go. We were all ready for it.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think because we do these little, I think we talked about this on our first one. We do these little shout-outs on the Facebook page that we have, and week 1 felt like week 3 in terms of us having, for lack of a better term, our shit together. I think you're right. It felt like that from the very beginning.
It did, and even the new people coming in that were first-time monsters, you could tell the energy was just different, and they just were ready to go for the most part.
What happened? What happened in terms of your character specifically? Somebody, anybody. Go.
As for Diego, he is beaten, bruised, broken, very, very sad. And there was a twist at the end, and then we had plans for him. There was a lot going on though.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot going on, and as for where he ended, I kept thinking about it, and I was just there's too much going on. I don't want to have this huge thing, or not even huge thing, but even this 30-second moment that he gets a soul split, which we had talked about for a while, and I'm well, maybe he doesn't get a soul split. Maybe I was literally about to be boop. No. My TV's not touchscreen. But we were gonna split his soul, and I was maybe he doesn't. Maybe he knows that his girls are safe at this point, with the Angel of Death, and he needs to destroy this witch, and he knows he can't destroy her, but maybe he can banish her. Maybe he can learn more about her and go with her. And I think that's exactly what we chose, is that he took a step back to go with her to learn more about her. And she's looking at me right now what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I was going to say,
it wasn't
what we chose.
Twist.
That's what
you chose.
That
That's not what we chose
I
collectively, because that was something that was sprung on the Angel of Death at the end. And when Diego walked away, I turned around and looked at the Huntress, and I broke character on stage and looked at her, and I was like, my feelings are hurt. over what just happened, and I am
bawling.
upset.
I was crying,
but like it wasn't like an I'm actually angry at Diego or Bree. It was like that was a plot twist I didn't see coming, and my butt hurts right now because that hurt my feelings, like lore wise, for the characters. The whole thing that happened was freaking insane, and it's more than we would probably be able to explain on a podcast, but I was butthurt.
Go ahead,
like,
yes,
yeah.
come up here, Miss Green Witch.
As the residential Green Witch in the room, if I get the opportunity to come back as the witch next year, if they bring her back and so on and so forth, I'm going to beat you so hard with the broom, you lying, mangy feline.
Yes, but you don't know any of this, so you can't act like you know any of that.
He is okay. So
as a character,
so
if anything, he was loyal to you.
He is loyal, but he, to the most part. But yeah, okay. So setting it up, none of these women knew what was going on in my head. You had no idea.
I definitely had no idea. What you handed me,
yeah,
fucking killed me when I opened it. I put it in my box and I let it sit there for a week. I didn't touch it until a week after Haunt ended because I refused to open it and look at it because I knew what was in it and I was pissed. My emotions were hurt.
So I gave her, if you want to know, I gave her a basically a velvet sack that had
velvet sack.
That had a small urn in it that was supposed to be the unborn child that was stillborn to the two characters, my character and the Huntress's character, and then a coin of death, like a memento mori coin. And I just whispered the name Isabella in her ear and walked away. And like as the Green Witch goes, that's all you get, Diego. And like as we walk away, that was literally the exit of it. It was very, very dramatic. It was kind of like this thing. So nobody knew what was going on except for me for the most part, and I was just kind of giving little tidbits here and there to the others just to get you into that place, Talon. But yeah, it's a thing, and he's gone with the Green Witch now, and there's gonna be some consequences. His face is not changing, but the darker aspects of it will. So he will have black tear stains, like next year. Painted onto the mask, and his eyes will become yellow. So there are consequences to staying with the witch.
The green cleaning lady.
The green cleaning lady.
What about you?
Very good at my job. I swept so much.
Right. I love being up on your porch and you sweeping that one day.
Yeah. I didn't know that was Sarah Marshall's house.
Yeah, it absolutely
until you said that, and I was like, well, my porch is dirty, so I walked up there and started sweeping. It was, being the Green Witch was wild. Being Sarah Marshall was a roller coaster in and of itself, and I was very fortunate to have a awesome running partner with me that stuck by my side and helped me work through filling those big witch boots, because it was a lot. I remember employee preview night after I did Rope Drop. I was backstage, and I think I stayed back there for like a solid 20 minutes psyching myself out, and I was literally terrified to walk out the door. And I had no clue what I was doing, how to act, how to talk, how to move, how to do anything that night. And I'm very fortunate that I had a really good support system there to help me get through that and get through it quickly. But once I found my footing, I felt really confident in it.
You stepped into that pretty damn seamlessly. Like, once you walked out those gates, nobody would have ever known that you were nervous.
Oh God, I was terrified.
And it's really funny to watch, as your wife, you turn into somebody that you're not. Because she is the complete opposite of the kind of person that you are. But getting to watch you embody something like that was really fun for me. And our characters hate each other. So that was also very interesting because we got to be very volatile towards each other, which is not...
That's not normal.
Our character at all as people. So it was really cool. You did a great job.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I wouldn't have never have known that you were nervous about doing that.
I cried a couple times. I tucked into a corner because I was so nervous and felt like I was doing so bad that I tucked into a corner and I cried. And Bree was like right there. She's like, all right, what are we doing?
Yeah, what you guys didn't see.
Yeah,
what you guys didn't see, which you wouldn't, is me taking her off to the side all of a sudden going, "What are you doing?" And she'd go, I'm nervous. And I said, then go out there and be the bitch you are. Like, do it. Just start talking. Just start screaming. Like, just do stuff.
Yeah.
And the second she'd go out and she'd be like, okay. And then she'd snap into it. And I think I only took you off to the side a couple of times, like the first 2 weeks. After the third week, like, you had it.
Yeah. The lanterns are what I think was what I hyper-focused on. Because it was something easy, it was something to interact with, and it was a physical moment, and it was always in fleeting. So if people didn't want to interact, it was fine. I could just move on to the next one. But it was a really surreal feeling watching or walking around and having everyone know who I was, but not know who I am. Like, the amount of people that didn't know that I was the Green Witch this year was insane. But to have people running up and bowing down to you or screaming, Sarah, Sarah, like it was a very surreal experience for me.
Do you remember like week 4, maybe week 5, and I think her and I were murdering each other and you had this little cult of children?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I remember that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And you're like, raise your left hand, and the mom comes out of the fog and is all,
no, and they all did it.
Oh,
like, they all did it, and then at the end, the only time that, like, one of the 3 times the entire season that I think the Angel of Death and the Witch were next to each other for something, because the mom was so like, no, what are you doing? And all the kids are all, I give you my soul and calico and black. And I'm sitting there laughing in my mask.
So funny.
But they tried walking away, and I was like, absolutely not. Wait, if you are really going to get... And I walked up and took all their souls, and the mom was all, ah! So between what they literally bowed down and vowed themselves to you, and then my stupid ass walks up and I'm like, ding, 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 ding. Now you're stuck here forever.
Well, one of the monsters started doing that, and that he'd go around and find gaggles of people. Usually it was like groups of kids or whatever, and he'd make them come over and bow down to me. And that became like a thing. I think that was the coolest part for me, was getting to learn everybody's backstories and learning how to interact with the different monsters. And obviously beating Diego with the broom was one of my
Would you like a
customers.
translation of what you just said?
Yeah.
Learning everyone's backstories and then weaponizing it for my own uses.
Yes, the witch is an absolute narcissistic asshole, and I was very proud to embody that.
Well, you knocked it out of the park because...
Horrid woman.
What did you say?
As her live-in pet, I can attest, she is a horrid woman.
Yep.
That line came up backstage when we were all on break, and I think all of us were in tears.
Yep.
When you said that.
I looked at people and said, it's called gaslighting, honey, get with it. I would say to the guests.
Oh my god, that's so
Simon.
good.
Our darling, I didn't call anybody honey. Somebody called me honey at work today, and it immediately pissed me off, so it's in my brain. I was like, I don't like that. He wasn't rude or anything. He was like, thanks, honey. And I was like, I'm not your honey. But yeah, no, it's called gaslighting, darling. I would tell people.
Yeah, everything was darling.
Darling.
What was the question?
It was
about our characters.
How, like, from the last time we talked, which was the beginning of week 2, what changes happened? What happened with your stories? So, Diego's was immediately like willingly going with the witch and giving you the urn at the very end.
I think it was...
The witch can't really change. She's kind of stuck in what she is as per Knott's lore. I think as a character, knowing everybody's backstory, I tried to implement...
I think you gave her more depth than she has had in the past.
Yeah.
I think you gave her a little bit more than she's ever had, for sure.
Personalized interactions, because you have taken the time to get to know what people have let you know, are something that, from a fan point of view,
amazing.
Eat that up all day long.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like, I found out Riley was one of the stolen children from the witch, so every time I would walk past him, I had some comment about how he's the egg I should have let rot, or the one child that was useless that I should have let go, or, like, when I found out about the doctor's things, he tried to save his kids, and every time he would say something, I'd go, really ask him about his kids, or how's your kids, doctor? So it absolutely was finding out people's backstories and then
Gaslight
weaponizing
Girlboss.
them.
It's true, you guys. I was there the whole time.
Oh, well, look at what I did with you guys. You guys both died and laid down next to each other, and I looked at you and said, "Oh, the death you wish you always had. Now get up."
That moment, by the way, when I was laying on the ground,
to hurt again.
and then I saw my pretend wife and my actual wife laying next to me, like I opened my eyes and looked over, I was all like,
Yeah.
huh. It was like a surreal moment, but at the same time, like I was totally at peace with it.
Well, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's
Like,
one of
it
those
was
things where
Called
so-
character bleed.
Yeah, it was so weird. I was just like, that actually, like, I think that messed my mind up a little bit. Like, I was just like, I'm okay with this. We're both dead.
we're both here and together. It's
okay.
it's like that thing that everyone wishes
Would happen.
could
in a weird
happen,
way.
that you
Yeah.
are going to die with your person and not alone, but
Yeah.
inevitably, like, you still die alone. It's very wild.
It's
very
a
wild
rare
thing.
It's rare to die together versus separately.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
being dead together, I was like, dead together, and then just hearing your voice as
No,
Sarah
get
Marshall. Oh, like, and I was just like,
Y'all shut up, bitch. I'm trying to enjoy the moment.
I think that was the moment that I was like, you need to be banished. I'm gonna take one for the team here. Like,
Was that the moment you decided you were going to do
I
what
think-
you
I
did?
think-
I'm upseteth even further now because that was the second to the last week that happened.
it was.
So you
this was a very common. This was a very like
thought out.
but last minute, like,
It was a
It
last minute
felt
decision,
last
but
minute.
a thought out thought process.
yeah.
Okay. That's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not even mad about it. It was like the coolest plot twist ever, but the character wise, I was all because the angel was supposed to fight to keep Diego's soul, and we had talked about that his soul gets split at the end, and Sarah Marshall ended up with half and the angel ended up with half, and then if they brought Sarah Marshall back next season, it was kind of going to be a continuation of that story. And it was such a flip that, like, I usually go with the flow, and I was so caught off guard by that. And I knew when I felt the weight in my hand, I knew instinctively what it was. And I was so fucking upset that I literally turned around and I broke character, and I was like, I'm upset. But, like, I didn't say it out loud. Guests wouldn't have gotten it.
Mm-hmm.
To guests, like, it was a genuine character interaction and reaction. But standing next to the Huntress, I was like, I'm so upset. Like, cannot compute what to do right now. It was like an
ask you
instant.
on one of your things?
Yeah, on one of my anonymous things,
yeah.
someone asked, what did Diego give you? What happened in Kmart?
Oh, really?
Someone asked. And I was like, I will not tell you what was handed to me because that's not my lore to tell. I will ask if it's okay to reveal that at a later date. But it was an interaction that was between the characters, like we were supposed to split the soul, and that
Deeply
didn't.
personal, I think, to all of us.
Yeah, and I was like, it is not my lore to tell in depth that way. So
I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the interactions that happen between monsters, like, we talk about some of the stuff that we want to do, but between us and other monsters, it kind of just happens on stage. Everything is an ad-lib. Nothing is really planned. And then if something works, then we keep it. Like, Florence dancing with the Axeman. That happened at Scare School. Just randomly last year. And it stuck, and it carried over into me being the witch. We just changed the dynamic of it. But there's little things that happen throughout the season that is just pure ad-lib coincidence, and either we get a really good kick out of it, or it's a way for us to check in with each other, or the guests like it, so we keep it.
Can we just really quick give a huge shout out to the Axeman?
Dude.
Holy crap.
he's a beast,
He is a
dude.
machine.
That jump scare he does is absolutely insane, dude.
It's basically a Superman punch with an axe.
Yeah.
He
And-
does
And
the
he-
Achilles jump from
He
Yeah.
gets
Yes.
height.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap, he gets some lift
Yeah.
It's really cool to watch.
But to think about that and the aerodynamics of that, also having to guess distances and the pace that they're walking and the directions that they may go, like there's a lot more to him just
jumping,
doing that jump that he has to consider. So to be able to do that with the axe and still not run into or hit anybody, it's impressive.
Yeah. It's like sliding in the air, but you don't have a bail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your
bail is where you land.
Yep, your bail is where you land.
I think he's one of the characters for me personally that had one of the biggest growths from last year to this year. Seeing what he did with that character was outstanding.
He was good last year, and he was on fire this year.
Yeah,
I remember going up to him and I gave him a pat on the back, and I was like, that
literally
was disgusting. And you are working your ass off right now.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever saw him while on stage in a stagnant or resting state.
Position. Yeah,
No.
I don't think so.
He was always moving. He was always just cranked up to 10, full of hate and rage. And then backstage, he's just the nicest guy.
He's so sweet.
Yeah.
But I think that's a credit to Knott's management and their trust in letting us take our characters and
have
creativity with them.
Yeah.
You know, within safe guidelines and everything like that, but
Right.
as long, but like you said, going from his look last year to going to his look this year,
with his little axe wings on his back.
Yeah, he had 8 axes on him at one point.
Really
it was
freaking cool.
wild.
Yeah, it just kept multiplying each week.
Yeah.
There was more.
That's true.
It's like me with my rosaries.
Yeah.
They just multiplied. They were all, but
they're having babies.
And then we had, the Huntress's evolution. We have Diego's evolution is not stopped. We had, the Angel of Death kind of taking control of the streets at this point.
It's really
You have a competitor, Sarah Marshall.
Well, to go full circle, to the original question of, the character development, it's, I think, for me this year, and it's something that I've said a couple of times, in those anonymous questions on Instagram, where I'm like, it is very wild to me that it has taken me 5 years at this point to get this character to a place where I feel like she is being understood the way that by guests, the way that I had hoped would eventually come across. I had 2 people on separate occasions tell me that what the Angel has created story-wise is essentially a spooky or dead Ghost Town Alive with what she has done, and that it's wild to me. I think her evolution throughout this season in particular, for me, hit a point where I'm very happy with it, and I hope that I can keep it moving in a positive direction. You wrote those letters as Lyra to specific characters, and then there were letters that were just townspeople to townspeople, and then it's like the Angel was sifting through people's memories and reading them. And so we handed out, she handed out letters to guests, and then character-specific ones went to those characters on stage. And it was just one of those things where it was very cool that guests started to pick up on that stuff and realize. And there was one point, I think, where I had 7 or 8 letters one night. They were gone within the first half an hour of the night. And to me, that's insane that people were paying enough attention to be like, I want one. I want one. It's keeps that realization that Knott's is the greatest event for this season alive, because people are that invested in the story still, in the characters. I think that's really cool, and to have my character hit that stride this year was really rad.
Going back to what I said about the witch, when you took the time to learn what some people's stories were, the ones that were like, hey, I want to interact with you, and you go, okay, what's your story, so we can figure it out so it makes sense, so I'm not just sitting there going ooga booga at you. I can actually do something that's personalized. You did the same thing in a non-torturous way.
Yeah.
You did it as a, I am echoing your memory.
Right.
Getting to watch you develop this character from being a guest and sitting on the porch with your mom and watching you work when we first met to what the angel became this year, the growth in her is exponential. Like it's what you did with her this year, especially watching you on streets. It was so hard not just to sit there and stare at you, and watching the crowd react to Talon and your story and taking of the souls, and how even some of the guests that come in that are super naive and don't know jack shit about what we're doing or care, they immediately knew, oh, she's taking their soul. Oh my god,
yeah, I thought that was cool. Like a tangible way for her to be able to pull souls from people was one of the coolest things that I thought of this year for me, because I feel like it elevated the character just that much more to get the point across. And then having the rosaries, because my hope for her was that she is timeless. Death has existed since time immemorial. She is Death's sibling, right? So it's kind of like Death is busy elsewhere in the world now at this point, and the angel is in Calico finishing what they started. And to have the rosaries that are from different periods of time, and they're meant to be like she walked through time, they were all gifts to her. They're tied into the different zones. Like I have one for Goring 20s, I have one for Carnival, Forsaken, CS, I have one for everywhere, and then some. And I think that was also a really cool addition, in which you made those. The Huntress made all of those rosaries for me. And then I got gifted rosaries by guests when they realized, like, oh my god, she's carrying rosaries. It was insane to have people get that invested in the character. I still don't know how to process that, because my brain can't process that character became what it became this year. So it's wild to me.
I think even your silhouette and the way that you stand and just the different poses and stuff that you do have become very iconic. Like there's pictures that'll come across of random monsters or people on my page where they're standing with their hands open like that, and at a glance I immediately go, oh my god, what a great picture. And then I look at it and I'm like, oh, by your shadow, by your silhouette, by the way that you carry yourself, by the way that you hold your hands, by the way that you do all of that. And it's really, really cool as your wife to see something that you've created from scratch and just completely elevate it to a level that I think surpassed all of our expectations. And I'm very, very proud of you for everything that you've come up with and created for that. And I think it's something that a lot of people will and should learn from.
Okay, so what about you, Jackie?
What about me?
Your character's development.
How's your hand there, buddy?
My hand's great.
Insane.
My hand's great. I'm so glad you asked. There's nothing wrong with it.
The look that I'm getting right now.
Talking about my hand is totally fine. Good. After you broke it, it went right back into place and it fixed itself because my mother's magic. And I literally went up to her and she broke my paw, and then you went,
and
it was fixed.
Words of the angel.
Oh my god! Don't be mad. It's fine. No, but from last season to this season, your look has changed in a way that's like
drastic.
Insanity. You went from Lyra the wolf to
yeah, that's
just say it.
Roadkill.
No,
I am a flesh pedestrian.
That skin do be walking.
The guests that would walk by, like the ones
people didn't want to walk by me.
No,
the that I would get.
They absolutely didn't. But the guests that did walk by, when they would realize what you were, the sheer terror on their face and the hard pivot, like the about face. Everyone was in the military at that point. That hard about face to get away from you was amazing.
So yeah. I couldn't see that most of the time, unless they were really far away from me, because usually I was looking at the ground. So thanks. I could usually hear it. Like I would hear people go, no, we're going to go this way.
Yep.
But actually seeing it, especially when I was on the ground or had my head cocked in a certain way, I couldn't see any of that.
Or if you and I were in Kmart and all you saw were the two silhouettes and people were like, no, I'm not going over there. And then you and I would start slowly walking towards them, and I was like, come here.
Okay, but can we just give guests a little bit of credit for having a survival instinct? Because
some of them.
When they would walk by and they would pause, I would look at them and go, I don't know if you want to go that way, darling.
Thank thank you for helping us enhance that.
Man.
But in terms of character development, I'm not going to lie, guys. Week 1, I was like, I don't fucking know what I'm doing. So when I talked to, my wife about it, when I talked to you guys about it, you're just like, just go with what you know and then build on top of it. And I think by the end of week 2, I was like, I got this. I got this.
It was really cool.
You did a great job, and it was terrifying. The way that you moved, the way that you progressed with the character, it was intimidating, I think would be the word that I used for you.
Thanks.
Because it was like a force field. It was like the Force, but the Sith Force coming off of you. And it was just like radiating anger all the time. And it was just like, no.
Well, you did that, so.
I was going to say, you also did that.
Technically, Diego did it.
Okay.
Narcissism!
I mean, technically, she's not wrong.
Character development was difficult. I'm actually going to say it was hard to play off I'm supposed to be angry at everything when my running partner is who they are. Because at the end of the day, I do want to kill everything, but I am not allowed to. I can get you to that point. My job is to get you to that point. And if you fight it, that's when I'll start holding you down. And there was a couple moments where like the rat would do that or you would do that and I would actually physically hold you and the angel would do what she does. But towards the end, I made a very conscious decision, and I think I even wrote it in the final letter that I gave to you, that I had full control over that vessel at the very end. So I made a decision to allow my old character to seep through every so often. But in the middle parts, every fucking time, you would provoke me. And you said it's too easy. It's too easy because she's still in there, even if you don't want it. And I went, you suck. Like, I don't know how to translate you suck on stage right now, but all I'm going to do is try to stab you, and then you're going to make me stab myself, which is fine. It's great. It's great character work. I love it. I'll eat it up all day long. But as a character, I hate you.
Okay. So what was a funny moment for each person?
I'm going to put a pin in that. Pick your fight. Here you go.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Pick your fight.
Diego was the one that killed, or that made Lyra what she was.
She's not wrong.
In the desperation of a broken heart.
You still did it. You still did it. I will not shut up.
The man tried to defend himself.
In the desperation of a broken heart, he went against what he was asked to do. I acknowledge that. And he took her to the shaman. And she would have just become the wolf.
Forever.
She's laughing.
However,
Sarah Marshall inhabited the shaman and tricked Diego and turned her into what you guys saw on the street.
Which was so the way that I wrote it was every animal that she had ever hunted, she became, but the 3 dominant species that fought for control over her were the wolf, the bear, and the elk, which is where my look came from.
Right.
And where a lot of that staturing came from. Like, I would charge at people with my antlers. I would still do wolf things. I would try to beat people down like a bear would. So I hope that translated. If it didn't, then I was just a furball running around on the ground.
I think you did a great job.
I think you did a phenomenal job.
Thanks.
But
you were tricked.
I was tricked, so he will take the consequences, and it'll damn near kill him, but he will banish Sarah Marshall.
Will you, though?
This is a big old if, because we have no idea what is happening next year.
We're hoping they're going to bring Sarah Marshall back for 1 year. I think because we all enjoyed having her so much that they will do it one more time.
Because Sarah Marshall just absolutely slayed this year.
She did.
I'm just saying. Like, as much as we all kind of have beef with you because your character is a bitch. Oh,
it was really cool to watch.
Good. Sonia, it was so
I'm glad that I got a day off that wasn't with you so that I could come in and watch you. Like, I didn't do, the only maze that I went through was Chilling Chambers, and the rest of the night I spent literally following you at a distance. So getting to watch you do the Around the World and go into all the other zones and physically see that in person was really fucking cool as your wife, because there were moments where I also wanted to stop and just watch you And I can't do that when I'm in character. So being able to have that day off and have you working was really fucking cool.
It was a lot of fun to get to go around and interact with all the other zones and learn their backstories and get in touch with those monsters. And it was a wild ride. It was a really wild ride, but it was worth every second of it.
Yeah.
As far as she goes.
Okay, so back to the...
Yeah. So I just hope they do. I don't know. Again, we don't know. We have no idea what is happening next year. But...
These are just hopes and dreams at this point.
It is.
They always
hopes
are.
And dreams. It's hopes and dreams that she comes back, because what we have in our heads would just...
It would be so cool.
It would just be really freaking cool.
It would be so beautiful,
absolutely stunning to watch.
And I think, honestly, Miss Green Bean sitting here, I think you were probably one of the only people that could help us pull it off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm here for whatever. I thoroughly enjoy it, so... No, I looked at Brie at one point, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna lie. I've been lacking in this confidence in myself for a really long time, and getting to be her as Sonya, it was a really big confidence boost. Like, I notice even at work now, like, I carry myself a little bit differently. Obviously, I'm not an asshole, because that's just not in my nature, but there was something about getting to be Sarah that helped my confidence as Sonya. And it was I think that is the most surreal thing out of all of it, is that being such a vile character would help.
I feel like it put you back in your roots. You got to perform again. I know you've missed that.
That's a good point. I think that was a big part of it, is that I got to be on stage, and when I was dancing, that was the one place I knew that I was unstoppable. Do you have the hiccups? You okay? She's hiding her face now. It was the one place that I felt the most confident and comfortable and at home, and getting to do that again, that's probably exactly what it was. You hit that on the head.
And if I can continue to speak truth towards you, watching you do this, the second you stepped out on stage and every second that you were out there doing what you were doing, not only did you do justice to a character that has been around for decades now, but you elevated her to a position where we all went, oh shit. She's the real deal. Like, this is the witch that cursed the town. And she don't fucking care about anybody's feelings anymore. You took the story that was created in the sandbox that Knott gave you, and you built monuments in it.
Like, even just watching footage of you, the way that you talk when you're talking to characters, you literally have your nose, like, you have your face turned up. Like, they're all beneath you when you're talking. And I don't even think you realized that you were doing it. I don't think it was a conscious decision. I think it came naturally, just knowing what the character entailed. Like, the way you would tilt your head up because you didn't even bother unless you were aggressively swooping in to get in someone's face. You were talking down to everyone, and just the way you held your face, it was insane. It's really interesting to watch.
I started making one because I would make people bow and say who they served. And I got to a point where I was like, asked Sarah Marshall's like, I don't believe him anymore. Night after night, they'd challenge me, so I would get in their face and make them look me in the eye and say, I serve Sarah Marshall. And then I'd make them say it again, but I would make them keep eye contact with her. And I think little things like that, developing with her, was a lot of fun.
Well, that's why I threw my knife at you that one day. Because I was like, I ain't gonna let her do this to me anymore. You do it.
Oh, I did.
I know, and you did, because I felt those teeth against my neck, and I'm like, oh shit, she's gonna do it.
Yep. Yeah, you threw that at me, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, I am absolutely not doing this to myself anymore.
I think I told you, too, you're the one person I would get my hands dirty for. You're welcome.
Yep, you definitely hurt my character's feelings. And then you pull off stage, like, in the corner. This is the difference between your character and you, okay? So we did this whole thing, and you murdered the shit out of me. And you did not hold back in it. I just hope it looked so good, because it felt cool. And then we both crawled off into the shadows, and you're like, I felt that against your skin. Are you okay? Did I hurt you? And I'm like, dude, that was awesome. Do it again. And you're like, okay, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't hurt. And I'm like, come on. It was so good. Like, I just want everyone listening to know that this is the difference between the character and the person. Is the character is a
ruthless,
just the worst, and then the person who's playing her is just, God, you're so considerate of everybody else,
and just
and you want to you just want to make sure that everyone's having a good time. But damn, girl, you did a good job.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and then like the unsung one over here. I know Sonia already talked about it, but it made so much sense. It was so freaking perfect for a witch to have a familiar that was a freaking cat running around, and there couldn't have been a better person to run with her, and it became the two of you, and then intermittently you would have Jacob, which was the sheep, run in and out. You would have the miner would come in and out, but ultimately it was the two of you, and there was no one else to run with you.
No.
That could run with you, that could keep up with you, it was just such a seamless flow. It was impeccable.
It was a symbiotic relationship while portraying it as parasitic.
It was amazing. And it was really funny too, because the four of us would joke that it was a wife swap, because the wives just ended up with, the opposing partner, and it was fucking fun. And then when you did come out as Florence, it was mainly the three of us, and then Diego would hop in and out. Because when the witch isn't around, Diego's all zoomies. Zoom, 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 zoom.
Catch it.
Like 100%.
I told Jax, I was like, I really tried. I did. I tried to run with Florence, but she's just everywhere.
She's a dun-dun. I don't know if you realize that you do that.
And I was like, and so like coming out as Diego and Sarah Marshall, we are so in sync and in line, because she's very straightforward and very like just taking the stage and using the ghost town as your runway and going through. And so it's easy for Diego to move around the witch and like make sure that she's...
her henchman.
Yeah.
Basically be your henchman, but also knowing that I'm basically doing a 360, making sure that you're safe. Because you were such an icon this year, we would get surrounded. And there was times where we would be stopped in one spot, and I would move around in a circle, and I'm like, we can't be here. We can't be here.
Yeah, you have to start moving.
I was like, we can't not be here this long, because people were just coming up going like, I want a picture, or they'd surround you, or people would stop, and like, like it was
wild.
It was pretty wild. We didn't get into like any hot water for the most part, but like, I think there was a moment where you went back to get a letter, and we were stalled there in Fog Alley right at the windmill, and I looked over at Huntress and I was like, what is happening? Because all of a sudden just
lots of people.
4,
I do remember
8, and I'm like, what are we doing? She's getting it, and I'm all like, we can't be here this long. Like, I'm like, it's just okay. But you finally came out, and I'm all like, okay, great, let's go.
And
like,
break.
Yeah, but
there was only one time that I think I got in, maybe 2, I'll give it 1.5, that I got into a position where I was surrounded, and I was like, oh shoot. And both times were in Goring. And I have to give credit to the gangsters, because they were on my ass. They would have never let anything happen to me. And then the CT and the HC in that section were also just with me every step of the way. And then when I got to travel with the conductor, that definitely helped. But having you there as a buffer was definitely helpful, and then having people in each zone too helped.
Yeah,
which was also your idea, and that was incredibly smart.
Yeah, we definitely worked it out. That people would be watching you in every single zone, and we knew that the people that were watching you would never let anything happen.
Yeah.
You had a good
a good little gang following you pretty much wherever you went.
Like, we literally did basically prisoner exchanges as we walked to the front and would go into the gauntlet, and then I would make sure you were with someone, and then I would walk back on my own. I don't know. It just comes with being an icon and being in that role, like and watching you
really well.
Yeah,
you handled it with a lot of poise.
The number one thing I said to you before Haunt even started, I said you need to be aware that people are going to be in your face with a camera the whole time.
That's what I said too.
And be there, and like you just have to like deal with that, and you did it flawlessly. There were times where I remember like towards the end, especially, this guy came up to you and was like, picture, and you're like, consent is a thing, darling, like no, and he's all, and you're like, no, and he's like, yes, we're taking a picture, and you're like, well, we're really not taking a picture now, and
good for you,
and you and you literally walked away, and I was all,
but it's in character.
Yeah, it was
if you're gonna think you're gonna tell her what to do, you're mistaken.
Well, people would start screaming, picture, 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 and so I looked at one guy and I was like, what about a picture? Do you see a picture? Do you have a picture? What are we doing with the picture? And he goes, picture. And I was like, maybe if you talked in full sentences, I would be able to understand what you're trying to say.
Oh my God.
And I just kept walking. Yeah. Like, I got to a point where I just got snarky with it, but it was all in character.
It was. And I would say like 70% of the time, if they asked nicely, like, you would stop, you'd take a picture. I can't even tell you how many pictures you took. And in that point, like, Diego would just slide off, like, and just kind of roam around until you were done with that, and then, like, continue to move. But, yeah, it was just a wild, wild experience to witness it, and then witness how you handled it in the beginning and how you handled it towards the end.
You got a mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just...
Well, the people pleaser in me started to go out the window. About week 3, I was like, no, if you're going to shove a camera in my face, I'm going to have a snarky comment for you.
Yeah.
Good. But I agree with what you said, T, that of the 4 of us sitting here, Bree is absolutely the unsung hero.
Well, yeah.
100%.
I mean,
100%. I think
absolutely.
I would say with confidence of the zone.
Well, because you were Sarah Marshall's running partner. You were responsible for making sure nothing happened to her, because inadvertently being an icon's running partner, that comes with it. It's you making sure that there's nothing happening, that nobody's coming up behind her, that nobody's fucking laying hands on her, that you guys are constantly moving, doing your job. You had
staying in character.
Like,
staying true to your backstory.
It's not
keeping
easy
the story going with
to do that.
We've decided. Making sure that I'm still doing my shit and pulling off and giving me coaching lessons, and then dealing, like, I don't know how you did it.
I don't know. It just like, coaching was easy to me, but the fact that we're friends and I've, like, known you for a year now, like, you know, ins and out, like, knowing how far I can push you and knowing how I talk to you sometimes, like, it comes from a place of love. But when I pull you off to the side and go, like, what are you doing? You know, like, that's how I talk to you, and you go, like, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, and then you'd walk out and boom, like, just click right into it. And
after that first weekend, you could see it. Like, it was like,
I think there was one weekend, something happened at rope drop. I don't know if that was the day my skirt fell off at rope drop. And I was holding
We'll get to funny moments later.
We'll get to funny moments too.
And then something happened backstage right after that. I don't remember what it was, but I remember telling you, I'm just having an off night because I panicked paced. The first round that we did, if you ever saw Diego and I come out, our first round after rope drop, I would panic pace the first, like, 3 weeks. And our first 2 laps was just me speed walking through the zone.
All right. You ever speed walk Ghost Town? It literally, we would do 2 laps in, like, 5 minutes. And I was like, okay.
That's over a half mile.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. I was like I'd have to.
But you also have to remember, for anyone that hasn't seen these two.
She's 6 feet tall.
Yeah. Sonia's pushing 6 foot, and B, you are barely 5'3".
I'm barely 5'3", which is where my sliding came into play, because I was running, and then I'd just slide and, like, be like, all right, what are we doing? And I'm all, okay. And I'd be like, slow down. Diego doesn't talk, but this year he talked. He had to talk. Because
when you spoke, it was freaking priceless, because you only spoke when it was necessary. Even, like, talking to get, like, when you would pull off to the side and, like, you would speak to, like, if you needed to talk to another monster about something, or you were talking to manage, like, our zone manager because you needed to know something in the middle of doing it, like, or talking to Sonia. That's different. But if you spoke on stage, like, in front of guests, my God, it was priceless because you didn't say something unless you had something to say. And it was great. And it was, like, saying this, low. Like, none of this was out of turn for any of us. Everything was in character. None of it was anything that was, you know, demeaning or disrespectful to guests or each other. No. Like, everything is within character. It's
but I agree. And I will wholeheartedly, as you would say with my whole chest, say that you are the unsung hero. Stop. Because you did all of that, and you continued to portray your character.
Mm-hmm. It just really
on top of
worked
performing
well.
And doing your normal job.
Yeah.
And I think you did a really good job. And I think that to give credit where credit's due, you had a very large responsibility on your shoulders this year without even knowing it in a way. Like, you knew it, but it was never like, you have to protect the witch. Obviously, she can take care of herself, but you took on that vicarious job and still did your job on top of it.
I mean, it doesn't hurt that all of our stories were interwoven.
Yeah.
Very in-depth. It wasn't difficult to run with her by, like, in that way, by any stretch.
Right. And you got physically beat every night.
That is true. You did take a beat down.
Until the end, when he got used to getting beat, and then he just stare at you.
And
like,
he's all,
can I feel this? And then you'd have to use powers.
Yeah, and then I would just start torching you with my magic.
Did having a knife help you this year?
So having the knife was a third set of scare that I added to it because...
What is she doing?
Yeah, I would. She would laugh at me, so I would make it like a shark, and I'd go...
Oh my God.
I would just like...
I would just see her hands slowly go up, and I would just wait for the... And
I'd swim it through the crowd, and then I'd go like this. It's honestly because sliding, I have a previous injury. And that started to act up again this year. So when I felt like it was too dangerous for me to slide, that I would land myself on the surgery table, I would take my knife out and I would just start stabbing people, which I was stabbing people like directly to the face like one night, and I was all like, that's super cool. Until I was like, but if they jump at me, I might get them in the eye. Oh, well. So I just started going, like, straight past, either into their stomach or straight past the stomach for the most part, and I would slide my foot to make that sound.
Yeah.
So that they would get scared. But that knife is in Diego's backstory anyways. That is the knife that he pulled out of his mother's chest and slit his first throat with, and so he carries it. So it was always there. It came to fruition this year. I actually made it the night before Scare School, and Jax looked over at me and was like, "You're making this the night before Scare School?" And I'll be like, "You underestimate my powers." And it turned out really well.
It did. It was really cool. It was a very cool knife.
And I love that everyone that held it were like, "Oh, this is waiting." You're like, "Yeah, I put rice in it."
Yeah, I had rice in it. I put rice in it because I needed a base for that bead that I bought.
For the cat.
Yeah, for the cat that I put into it. That's really the only reason why I had that. But I appreciate you guys for like.
We see you.
You did great.
Yeah,
you did really good.
For seeing, but I mean, honestly, it was a labor of love, dude. It wasn't even anything that I even thought twice about this season. You know, doing this with you, and that's why I think I want, like, you know, I want to carry out his story, but I just kind of want to run with you again, like, as the witch, because it was just such a good time.
Yeah.
And, like, every time you were gone, I was all like, I'm bored. Yep. You know, like, I'd go out, and I know she kept saying, like, well, like, do I hold you back? I'm all like, no, I'm bored. Like, I'm bored without the witch.
Do you remember the night that you had off, and you're like, hey, how's your night going? And I was like... And you're like, wow, that was super convincing. And I'm like, it's because I didn't have you there.
Yeah. It was, I was just going to say, too, like, especially learning, because the first couple of years the angel was out, she ran alone. I didn't run with anybody. And then last year, I ran with Death intermittently. Like, I never stayed with him, but we would meet up, and then we would separate and meet up, and then separate, like... She never had a consistent running partner until this year, and it just happened that everyone's storylines worked out in this way. So it was really cool, because it was two completely different running styles that worked. And then when you would come out as Florence, the two of you would be ditties running around, and it's the angel just walking behind you going, what the fucking...
And we would do sexy
fuck.
shoulder at each other.
Well,
And it was so funny to watch, but it was so fun to have that dynamic added. And it was hysterical to watch outside of that, but it was also a lot of fun to watch you embody two completely different personalities this season too, to watch you go from Sarah Marshall and then bring Florence out.
Yeah, can
And
we
it's
talk
like
about that?
nothing
It's so
ever
different.
skipped a beat.
But it's
You
so
came out
different.
as Florence and you were all
Yeah.
You are a
Florence
you are
is a psychopath.
bubbly little psychopath as the deer.
I know, it's
She
fun
is.
to watch.
So her brain is melted, essentially. I don't know if anybody knows the backstory of Florence, but if you've ever heard of the podcast Old Gods of Appalachia, I pulled a lot of my backstory from that. It's a lot of inspiration from The Witch in the Woods in the very beginning of that podcast. It's a great podcast. But she basically was cursed with eternal life once before and defeated the demon that cursed her, and she started to live out a normal life, which is why she was around in Lyra's... Did you just smack yourself in the face?
No.
Oh, is there a squeato?
She was around through Lyra's childhood, and then Lyra finally figured out why Florence never aged. Florence disappears for a little bit, defeats the demon that cursed her, and is in learning to integrate her life through Lyra and Diego. Really, they have a common goal, her and Diego, and then her and Lyra are obviously friends, and happens to be in Calico and gets cursed again, and it basically just melts her mind. Her human body physically couldn't take the second curse, so she's just batshit crazy, and she giggles and she kills people because there's something about seeing the blood pour out of people that she finds fascinating. Like, it's like a experiment almost. Like there's something about it that just sets her off, and then she's like, okay. But really,
Blink twice if you need help.
she's in love with the angel of death, because I think the bits and pieces of her that are still there know what the angel is. But the batshit crazy of her is like, oh my god, it's this big black moth butterfly shiny thing, and every time somebody dies, the angel comes. And she's kind of falling in love with this
God
thing that comes around. So she just starts killing people because she wants the butterfly to come. And that's why you'll catch her just running through the zone going, fly, fly away, fly, fly away, because the angel comes.
I did hear you say pretty butterfly, and I was like, oh my god.
But to have like that
so
weird
funny.
love triangle that we created because we both have antlers and we're doing sexy shoulder at each other. And which started because the deer call that I bought is a mating call, and we just had a giggle at that because it goes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's completely different than the witch. Yeah. And I don't think I realized how spastic she was until I had to go from being the witch to Florence.
And you were hurt the next day?
She's a spaz.
She is a spaz.
Fucking nutcase.
And I don't think you realize how you move.
It's
Because
spaz.
you'll
like
be
a
standing there,
moth.
and then all of a sudden, you turn around, and
You can't even see antlers. You are 6.5 feet tall with antlers, and we can't find you.
Gone.
you're gone.
Really?
You are a
We can't hear
spaz.
your whistle. We can't see your antlers. We don't see you prancing around. We don't see you hanging on a bush. Cannot find you.
Gone. And I'm all... Remember that one night I told you we were in Fog Alley, and then you disappeared, and I stood there and scared in Fog Alley for 15 minutes because I was waiting for you to come back? You never came back. You never came back, and I was all...
And you know what's funny is that I walked down Fog Alley like 3 more times after that.
No, ma'am, you did not.
I did.
No.
Lies.
I am telling you right now, you did not. You were gone. And I was all, okay, bye. I think at one point I literally said that in my mask. I was like, okay, bye. I gotta go take my break.
Yeah.
Bye.
That's why I just watched from afar. I was just in like cat watch mode half the time because I was just like,
Yes, it's bad.
Can I tell you, though, something that you said to me in character and something that you said to
Oh
me
my
out
God.
of character? That
Oh God. I
already know what you're gonna say.
My heart.
And it sucked.
That's a loaded
It
question.
broke my heart.
I remember this.
I think I remember saying something to you, but
I in character, lost my shit on you, and I decided I was going to attack you, and you went down, and the angel came and took your soul.
Was I?
You were Florence.
Yes,
you would never go down as
you,
Sarah Marshall.
And you went back up, and you grabbed your flowers, and you went, "You're not my Lyra anymore," and I.
But the way you said it.
Oh, I remember saying that to you.
It broke my heart because I went, I know. Like inside, I was like, I know.
Because it was the way you said it, though. You were all, "You're not my Lyra anymore," and I was all, like,
because that's what she sees. Her brain is so messed up, and she's so in the ether all the time. I think that's the best way to describe
Yeah,
Florence.
that's great.
She is not necessarily on a plane. She is consistently in the ether and just kind of touches base.
Mm-hmm.
So when she looks at Roadkill, she sees Lyra. She doesn't see...
As the wolf or as the human?
Ooh.
I don't
Lore depth.
know. Probably a little bit of both. It's probably like a hologram.
Oh, shit.
You know, like, so I think that's what she sees. So she doesn't see this
like
skinwalker.
one of those pictures.
Yeah.
Do this.
Have person, have zombie. Have person, have zombie.
That's probably honestly how Florence sees the world, which is why you'll see her twitching and stuff like that. Is because everything
That's
is
a great
like
way to put it.
Yeah.
it's like looking at a holographic photo. So
that is
she
a
doesn't.
cool way to put that.
She doesn't see the hunt. She doesn't see the Huntress. She sees Lyra.
Riley
Right
wanted
into
to
the
join-
mic. Right
Riley
into
wanted
the
to join
mic there, kid.
conversation. And then I think the next day you played the witch, and we had done a couple things on stage. And then you and I were... The twin knuckleheads were behind us doing stupid twin knucklehead things. And you and I were walking together, and I went, "Am I doing okay? Like, do you think I'm doing okay?" Because you're one of the people that would watch. And you looked me dead in the eye, and you said, "Lyra's disappearing every single day, a little bit more." And I was like... And you're like, "It's not a bad thing." I'm like, I didn't take it in a bad way, but that's heartbreaking for me to hear.
Yeah.
Because I love her.
Yeah. Well,
But that also means that that's doing its job.
Yep. And it was really cool as your friend to watch you grow as that character, as the Huntress, because at the beginning everyone falls back on what they know. And to watch you progress out of Lyra, I think was one of the best things you could have done to introduce this character, especially to the Haunt fans and the Haunt community. It was a great way to not only adjust you into a new character, but to this new chapter in its life.
And I think that happened pretty darn seamlessly. Because there were people even on the media night that immediately were like,
What happened?
"Lyra, what happened to you?" Like, I remember, wasn't that Coaster's incoming?
It was Coasters, yeah.
Yeah, that he was like, "What happened to you?" And it was immediate. That flip was, because there are similarities in the faces, just enough to where
enough.
you know that character rolled into this one.
Yep.
And it's cool. Y'all did, I think everyone did a pretty exceptional job elevating their characters, especially for the 50th. And I don't think that it necessarily was because of the 50th. It just coincided with...
It just happened to be.
This year, it just happened to all work out where everybody just... their characters.
Let me toot your horn a little bit, and I told you this in the car when we were driving today.
Sorry.
That without your big brother death there, it's like everyone knows that once anyone's older sibling disappears or leaves or goes and does something or has to attend to something, that the younger sibling is fucking crazy. And little sister had full control over that this year and went, "Okay."
Yeah, I'm all...
Cracks knuckles like,
"Let's go."
"We're not messing around anymore. We're doing it my way." And I told you also that the way that you looked this year, and this is despite what was happening in the real world, outside of Haunt, your look looked like you were in mourning.
Yeah.
You looked like you were constantly in a state of mourning, but in a, like you said, in a neutral way, the way that your character would be.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were mourning the loss of your older brother, even though he's not dead. He's death. He is
eternal.
But the fact that he wasn't there, you no longer had your guidance, so you had to step into that role.
Right.
Without taking over what he had already established.
Right.
And then again, you are the echo for all of us. You are the echo of our memories. So when people have approached you and said like, "Hey, can we work something out? Do you like this idea? Do you like this idea?" and you start being able to echo that back in front of guests or at guests while you're interacting with that character in particular, you're telling our story without us having to say anything. You are our mouthpiece. And I told you this earlier too. You're giving a voice to characters that don't talk. You're not just gruesome A and gruesome B or werewolf 1 and werewolf 2. You're giving life to the people that are walking around trying to entertain the group. With that being said, when you take your wings off, and I will state for you two that were not in the car, you are like a cockroach that did a line of crack cocaine and then downed a Monster Energy drink because I couldn't find you. At all.
The wings only came off 3 times the whole season.
Barely 5 feet tall. Okay,
And it was
that.
angel
And when you
zoomies.
hunch over into zoomy mode, you're barely 3 feet tall.
Oh my god.
You disappear into the crowd.
She's not wrong.
I'm not wrong, okay? You think she disappears? Well, let me tell you something. You little cracked out cockroach with a hood on. I couldn't find you for 20 minutes. 20 fucking minutes. I had to go up to the guests on the bench and go, hey guys, have you seen my flightless bird? She took her wings off. Have you seen her? And they go, oh yeah, I think she went that way. And the other person goes, no, I really think she went that way. And they were genuinely trying to figure out which way you went. And about 2 minutes into this conversation, I hear someone screaming behind me. And then you screeching behind them, cutting through a crowd with your knife out, ready to stab them. And I went, never mind, guys. I found her. I found the kiwi. You flightless bird.
What are the angel's actual pronouns?
She, they, it.
Ethereal
She, they,
piece
it.
of crap.
Or ethereal piece of crap.
Yeah,
As the beautiful artist RJ wrote into one of their sketches because Diego thought that was fucking hysterical.
It was.
I think it's hysterical. It is actually the background on my phone because I asked RJ to send me the file or that rendering because it had both the witch and I on it, and next to it says ethereal piece of crap. Diego.
I will let you know that I had 2 rules were given to me as the witch. One was that I needed to be very cautious of what I said to people. And the other one was that I was not allowed to sit down. Obviously, and we couldn't take people traveling. But one of the rules that we had was that we were not allowed to sit. So I sat twice the entire season.
Mayor Matthew deserved a sit.
Once was for Mayor Matthew.
Okay, that kid was
it
the
was
coolest.
Absolutely worth it. I would have taken whatever write-up they were going to give me if they were going to give me one. And the other one was to sit down with RJ to have a full conversation about how there should be no artwork of the angel in their sketchbook.
Is that when you demanded a 3,000 fully illustrated page?
Yes.
Because that 3,000 pages minimum illustrated by Halloween.
And it was like 3 days before. But that was the night that I killed the 2 of you, and the angel was off doing something, and that was when I made the comment about
How we died together.
Yeah.
Where's the angel now?
Where's your angel now?
They were going in and trying to write down that story because they were going to turn it into a comic. And so I made them X out your face. And obviously they have a back button so they could just pull it off.
Right.
And then I would go, it's not X'd out anymore, you need to fix it. But that was the only time that I sat down, was to make sure that happened, and when Mayor Matthew was in town.
You failed. Because I have it with my whole face
right
there.
I knew I was going to.
Okay.
100%. I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, that's
it
right.
It still says ethereal piece of crap on it.
I will be an ethereal pice of crap that kicks your ass up one side and down the other.
Diego just wanted to make sure.
Well, it's on the internet now.
So good. I thought it was so good. I thought it was hysterical.
We literally came up Market Street and I saw it. And I went, no! And I pulled out my knife and started like, no!
Can we just give RJ a quick shout out for allowing us to take the stylus and make
actually
scribbles
do doodles
and do little doodles?
Oh, I 100% did, and so did she.
I did a couple doodles.
Oh, I just yelled
I asked.
at them.
It was
I just did.
They always gave it. They handed it to us.
Yeah, I never stole it.
We had a whole conversation because I said I referred to the angel as a she, and then I went they, and RJ looked at me and said they, and I said, I think they, she, them. I don't know. So that was how the conversation came.
Yeah,
about
it's actually
It's on your
she, they, it.
she, they, it. Okay.
I mean, she's,
Well, yeah.
You're an ethereal piece of crap.
I'm an ethereal piece of crap.
And I'm using the word crap because I was on stage.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
what it actually is.
What I said to you in a whisper one day in Fog
Yes,
Alley.
I recall.
Yeah.
And I was, you know what? I will forever be grateful. I love my face. And that is a shout out to Red and Jesse both. Red sculpted it and it came out beautiful. I have facial expressions that nobody will ever see. So if I am laughing, you will never know it unless you are. They are, but if you can see it, especially this year with the hood on, if I tilt my head down just enough, you can't see anything past the mouthpiece. There were so many times this year where I was like, I'm gonna look at the floor and laugh because.
Try running with Michael Guerrera. Oh my God. Do you know how many I have?
This one kept coming and
bruises.
whispering sweet nothings into my face.
Imagine running with the two of them.
It's true.
Oh my God, there were
if he
times
talked,
that,
I talked.
yeah, they would just be blah, 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 and I'm trying
like the
to yell at
hecklers?
people while I'm biting my cheeks.
Yeah.
Oh, one of our favorite.
You thought this was going to be easy? No.
No.
One of our favorite games towards the end of the season was
Not with you two. We won't play with you two again.
mess with the
guest assistance line?
the guest
Yeah.
assistance line.
I tried to let you guys come in that last night. I was like, hey, come look at this cool thing that Michael showed us. And then you guys went and took it to a whole new level, and I was like, no, this isn't how we play.
We had the tall contest. Do you remember that?
I did, yeah. I did.
Because you're like,
stood on the wall.
no, you're not allowed up here. This is the only time
went
I'm
into
ever
the
tall.
line, and then we're standing there, and I was like, no, you're just supposed to stare at them and make them uncomfortable.
No, we messed with them all the time. Well, at least I messed with them.
Yeah, but
I used to stab people.
We came and stole the thunder is what she's trying to say.
I didn't feel like you guys stole the thunder.
Apparently,
so I don't
we stole her thunder.
I don't know what she's talking about because I
That's
was like,
the narcissistic character
Yeah.
talking right now.
I
that we
guess.
stole
Who's
her
like,
thunder.
please get out of here. And I'm like,
we walked away from doing
'cause
that,
our
and I was
silhouettes
like, well,
suck.
they ruined that fun today.
I think I remember that, but I was all like,
Because our silhouettes suck.
terrible silhouettes.
Okay,
Going, what is a hell pigeon and
I don't
roadkill
know.
doing out
I
here?
thought it was fine.
Okay, so I put a pin in this an hour ago. I'm going to unpin it right now.
Funniest moment.
Funniest moments.
Funniest moment.
There were several. This is
Are
wild.
you going with me first? Because there's two that are sticking out in my
Name two, because they're
Two, the Wendigo stealing the broom
That was one of mine.
and then riding it.
Oh my god, it was so good.
It was so good because he me noid with it and then rode it into a slide. It was, I have never seen all of us and one of our leads break.
Yeah.
I mean, like, almost on the floor break.
Yep.
There was no other choice, and he was so proud of himself.
Yep.
It was so smooth.
It was so smooth. It was so good. And the thing about Zero is when he smiles under his prosthetic, you can tell.
The whole prosthetic
The whole
goes into...
prosthetic moves because he's so expressive and his eyes, like,
You know what it
close
is?
and everything.
It turns into a pit bull smile.
Yes, it absolutely
It
does.
does.
He gets a big
100%
pity
is what
smile.
he looks like.
So that was one of them. And another one that happened, I think it was the last weekend, is I went to get down on my hands and my scare cloth caught and I ate shit and laid on the floor and then just started wiggling back and forth and went, I'm a snake. I mean, listen, guys, a lot of funny stuff happened. I think we looked at each other at least 3 times a night and just started cracking up because funny stuff happens all the time. Guests say weird shit. We do weird shit. We get really good scares that you just have to laugh afterwards because it was so good. But as for standout moments that are in my head right now, because those are the 2 most recent ones, those were my favorite. Well, I don't know. Us on Ghost Rider was pretty funny too.
Oh,
We had a
that's
great
right.
time on Ghost Rider.
We did have a great time on Ghost Rider.
What about you?
Okay, the 2 that pop into my mind immediately was Steve. Everyone knows Steve is on top of building. Steve is a lantern activated animatronic. This is going to go into a full circle story. One of the photographers that came, which was Magic Through a Lens, got this epic freaking photo of me with the red light on my face. And one of the individuals that commented on the photo, which was a guest, said, "How did it get down from the roof of the ice cream shop?"
To which we all died.
Because they doppelganged me and bought a damn animatronic that looks like me and put it on a freaking roof as a lantern activated feature. Because when Steve was not activated, he was lowered. He was on a spring operated, lift, and when the lantern thing went off, he would lift up and the wings would open, the lantern would come up. So my character obviously has wings that are articulated, they open and close. Well, management looked at Pasta and our cast lead and said, since when do we allow talent on the roof? The one with the wings. And I happened to round the corner in front of Birdcage, and someone in a yellow shirt points at me, and Pasta and Kyle both turn around and look at me and just start crying, laughing. Well, I stop dead in my tracks and slowly start backing up, because I was all, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. I know I didn't do anything today. But then I turned around and... This hour, I didn't do it. So I walk up to them, and they're all laughing. And Pasta explained to me, I just got done explaining to him that you are not on the roof. That is a lantern-activated animatronic. That is not talent. And I happened to round the corner at the same time. I am Steve. Steve and I are one. Steve. I got doppelganged, and now I'm on the roof now. And the second one is, every year, inevitably, I am Armenian. I will run into groups of Armenian people. I just hear them speaking Armenian, and, I think it's the best thing ever. There was only one group that I ran into this season, and I scared the bejesus out of them. And then I hear them speaking Armenian, so my head cracks around at lightning speed, and I'm all, I shall destroy you. So I'm chasing them around, and I'm yelling, just stop. Just wait. I'm yelling character things, but in Armenian. But they're screaming so loud, nobody hears me except for, 2 people in the group, and they just stop dead in their tracks and look and inevitably make way for me to run after the rest of them. So I terrorize this group of 7 people, and then we hit a border where I cannot cross it. And they all just stop and turn around and look at me, and I just yell, Sadesachun, which is goodbye in Armenian, and all of them just stopped and turned around and stared at me, and then Jackie just fucking lost it.
Dying.
Because she goes, I know you didn't just terrorize all of them, and then politely yell, goodbye. And I was all, I absolutely did that. But it was funnier in the moment than it is, retelling it. But it was funny for me.
You need to hear it from my point of view.
Oh my God,
because
it was so good.
The woman that was running away from you, primarily, I was trying to corral the entire time, and this lady was not having any of it. But everyone else that started picking up, they're like, oh gosh, as big as our language, parted the sea to let you go. And I'm still working on this one girl to try to get her back to you. It just wasn't happening. This woman did not care what any language was spoken. She didn't care what planet she was on, as long as she wasn't on it with you.
It was so good. It was so good.
And she was the one that crossed the border first. And when you yelled that, the rest of the group turned around and fell through their ass because they finally realized that you understood everything that they were saying. But I heard her run faster. No. No origins, so no nothing. She probably ran right out of Western.
So funny.
It was great.
It was ridiculous.
It was wonderful. Green Witch, get closer.
I think one of my favorite moments as the witch was walking with Cheese when he was imposter Cheese and he was normal human Cheese. And apparently I made him incredibly uncomfortable as the witch because I didn't say anything. I just was walking stride by stride with him, just staring at him. And he was like, I really don't like this. I'm really uncomfortable. And we got to the train tracks and he goes, you can't shit, you can follow me. Because it was right then and there that he realized that I don't have borders. And I was like, I don't have borders, so I'm going to walk with you. So I just kept walking. He was like, I really don't like this. But it was my goal all year to kill the rat. And in my own little way, that was my best kill of him.
That discomfort.
Yeah,
that discomfort that I got.
Kill.
It was amazing.
Because you did kill him as Florence.
I
made
did.
Sure that happened.
I did. I think I killed him as the witch, too. Obviously, the couple of times that my broom got stolen was freaking hilarious. You did it. Diego took it first.
The cat had that plan for a while.
And I was like, what just happened? I'm trying to think. There's so many times that I just ended up doubled over laughing.
Oh my God. When I would block you, that first time I opened my wings so that you couldn't get to a guest to yell at him to change the color of the lantern from red to green, you broke. Like, you broke and started laughing mid-sentence, and I was like...
because you're talking to me in your bird voice. Make it green. Make it green. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to really think about that. There were so many things that Oh, no. I think one of my favorite things is when I would get in my head about being the witch, all of a sudden Diego would look at me and go, I did the abuse the deeds to back the 50 years to curse the deed. But he had my entire rope drop down to the choreography. And so when I would get in my head,
do it every day.
I know, all of a sudden I would just look over and see my little mangy cat. For 50 years, dude, you have to do it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Fools. Infidels. Forgive you?
After 50 years?
She's doing the choreography right now. As she says it, she's doing the choreography.
Oh my God. I can't.
I know. I'm just like, holy shit.
I know. It hurt, too. That one hurt. Also, just so that you know, the whole last week, every time you would go, contain my wicked ways,
all of us were like...
all of us would look at her and go, contain my wicked ways, and we would actually mimic you, because no one could see us on the rocks anymore.
Yeah,
it was so dark, there was
black.
no lights.
Yeah.
So we all just started making fun of you.
Oh, I love that. 100%.
Like,
I
didn't make fun of you.
The curse would still take hold, and we would still be animated about that, and she would still pace, but there were always certain moments where we'd be like,
as you should. No. You know, one of my favorite moments was as the witch.
She's sitting up
got
for that.
crazy.
This is one of my favorite moments, and I will throw this out to Psycho. So, my first night traveling, everybody in Ghost Town like kind of cowered, and nobody really had stood up to me yet. So my first night I got to travel, I go into the gauntlet, and the gentleman that plays the fool, whose haunt name is Psycho, is a friend of ours. Sweet as pie. I've never seen this man angry or snarky, or he's just always like so kind and sweet. And so I go in and I start talking to a fool, and I'm so used to how all the Ghost Town characters treat the witch, and they kind of bow down and they cower, and no. I got my ass handed to me by this fool. And I had no clue what to do with it. And I had to laugh because I was like, as a character, I'm pissed. As Sarah Marshall, I'm fucking fuming. As Sonia, I just want to like give that man a high five. So I go backstage and I'm telling, the three of them what happened. And Talon looks at me and she says, that's so-and-so. And I was like, no, there's no way. There's no way that that's who that is. Like that. They had a prosthetic on, but like there's no way that person's not. I just can't picture them being like that. And she goes, yeah, that's so and so, and sure shit, it was. And so having that conversation, and they go, oh, I had no idea you're the witch. I'm so sorry. And it's like, no, it was amazing. But yeah, that night of getting my ass handed to me verbally by the fool in Gauntlet was great. And then he went on to call me the air marshal and would fly around on my broom.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he called me the air marshal every time I came in. The air marshal's here.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
You thought you could outwit the Gauntlet?
And I failed. He's like,
I failed.
OG Gauntlet.
I know.
Which is why I was like, that is absolutely who that is, because that is the only role he would step back into going over there, and I know he's there.
Oh, yeah. No. I got my ass handed to me 100% because I'm very non-confrontational as a person. And when he started going, I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with. I don't know what to do. Yeah, well, I'm the witch. And just like walked away.
I'm the witch.
I'm in danger.
Yeah.
You were very much in danger.
I was very much in danger.
But it was a learning experience, and I think
was...
everybody has one. Ma'am.
Oh my God.
You tell him.
Yeah.
It's actually registering. Oh.
thirsty.
No, but that was an awesome moment for me, and then especially finding out it was one of our friends just made it even better.
Kat?
God, there was so many moments, but like two of the ones that stick out were the first time we, like, I think that first or second week that we really started like trying to get Steve to come up on the ice cream roof. And
we hadn't figured out where the target spot was.
Yeah, we hadn't figured out where the target spot was, but I was kneeling down and I'm like looking up, and like Sarah Marshall's doing her thing with whatever, taking pictures and talking with the conductor and stuff. And this guest kneels next to me. And like I look over and I'm kind of annoyed at first, but then I was all like, you know what? Whatever. And so she's like, "What we doing, partner?" And I'm just like, "Steve." And I point up, and as like Steve got activated, I got like 20 people to get on their knees and start worshiping Steve. And I think that was like the beginning of, I was all like, dude, that was sick. Like, and then I think we all just started trying to get as many people to worship Steve as possible, like as much as possible.
Every night.
A couple times.
Yeah.
But I loved that it became a thing by the end of the ride.
Thank you, Chopper.
Yes,
Chopper.
Chopper named Steve.
The guests,
on night one.
The guests all knew who Steve was.
Like, it was popping up on Facebook where people were like, yes, the monsters lovingly refer to him as Steve. Like, it was spreading immediately.
Yeah. The second one was like that first week or no, second, third. We had the closing shift.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesse and I would go out like the last like 25-30 minutes because Sarah Marshall had to go to bed to get her non-beauty sleep.
That shit came effortlessly, okay?
Right. But like he went up onto City Hall's porch, and I stayed below, and we had there was an employee that kind of came out of the shop, and we were sitting there, and he looked down and he's just like, "Sarah Marshall, you have been like sentenced for witchcraft." And I'm just all, "No, please, don't do this. I know." He like, "You know me. Why?" And then like we just started reenacting the entire preview night of the human Sarah Marshall like begging for her life, and then all of a sudden turning into the, Green Witch Sarah Marshall of just going like, "I curse you, can I go?" Like, so.
Wonderful.
And this employee, I look over to the side and they are just dying. They're just laughing so hard. Because during the first 2 weeks, if you come to Scary Farm and it is like close to closing time, there is like 6 people in the park. There's nobody to scare at that point, or they're over it,
Yep.
So, I feel like we could talk about this stuff for hours, because, when you do this for 6-7 weeks, and we had Wednesdays this year, it was a long run. But we can come back and talk about this as much as we want. There is one thing that I want to touch on before we wrap this up, and that was the Procession Halloween night. We, as a zone, as Ghost Town, said goodbye to many monsters this year, and the people who inspired us and created fans when we were coming as guests. And we got the honor and privilege to work and scare with them and to be mentored by them from start to finish, because you had a very heavy hand in this. Mm-hmm. But you didn't get to see everyone walking behind you.
Yeah.
What, from everyone's point of view, what did Fog Alley look like? What did the moment in Birdcage look like? Like, what are your feelings about what took place?
So, when I realized how many people were leaving Ghost Town this year, quite a few of them being people who were scaring when I was a kid, that I got to grow up and scare with. And I wanted to be able to say goodbye to those characters. And then on top of it, there were people that came into Scary Farm the same time I did. So we grew up, for all intents and purposes, scaring together. Even if we didn't know each other, we were all within that same group that came in and did it within the same years. And I wanted to be able to say goodbye. And this is kind of how I found out this many people were leaving. I thought it was only like 4 or 5 of the older generation that was stepping down. And I started asking the people that I thought were retiring if the angel could take their soul on Halloween night as close to the end of the night as possible. I ended up making a post on Facebook later on down the line, and we realized just how many people were leaving and how many people wanted to be involved in it. And it became something insane out of having that idea. I did have, just for the sake of not having the name drop, he came to me with an idea of involving Fog Alley and having the monsters leaving do like a final walk. So he and I sat down and talked about how we wanted to do that, and figured out the details of that. Jackie and Bree bought tea light candles, and we kind of just posted the details on Facebook. When it came time to do it, and we walked out of A2, the amount of people that were standing by Birdcage, in my brain, I don't think it processed, because I was like, there's no way that everyone is standing here for this. Like, there's no way that just this idea of wanting to say goodbye to these people ended up like this. Because it wasn't just monsters. Like, it was guests upon guests upon guests. And when we ended up lining down Fog Alley and starting, I walked ahead of everybody with my wings open, and everyone retiring walked behind me. And just the visual of walking down, I didn't see anything behind me. I didn't see what was going on the whole time outside of looking at the monsters that I was saying goodbye to on behalf of all of Ghost Town. And it was just insane. But walking down Fog Alley, I started crying. And every video that I have seen shot of the walk down Fog Alley, I'm kind of surprised you can't see like my shoulders shaking, because I was already crying before I even made it to Birdcage. And then having everybody line up like that, I never saw anything that was going on behind me. I had no idea. I had no clue. It was just incredibly wild to look everyone in the face and take each character's soul and like know that that's the last time that I'm probably going to work with most of those people, because that's just, their life is moving in a different direction. Some of them have gotten older, and some of them, their bodies just can't do it anymore. And seeing the videos that I have seen of what was going on behind me is absolute fucking madness. I have no other way to say it. Like, the amount of people that were standing there was incredible and unbelievable. Silently. That just to have that be what came out of that idea for me is wild.
So, Sonia and Brie, you were part of the walk behind. You were part of the procession that followed. From your guys' point of view, I know that you were able to see a lot that happened in Birdcage, but I think one of the most poignant moments of that was that walk down and having everyone do their final walk. So what did that look like and feel like for you as your own characters and watching Ghost Town come together like that?
For me, like, me and Ace trying to get everybody lined up, like, because everybody ended up being on one side, so we were like, no guys, like, you need to line it up on both sides. But watching everybody's candle just come on and just doing a final walk to make sure that everybody was in place and they knew what to do, because we were having all the monsters fold in as soon as Sarah Marshall brought up the rear, right? Mm-hmm. Did she not? Yeah. So Sarah Marshall brought up that rear, and then the monsters folded in so that we could protect the retiring monsters from the crowd. But doing that final walk up Fog Alley and then back down and then just joining in place on a spot, like, the most peaceful, like, most beautiful, but like, just, I don't know, you guys, if you're watching right now, like seeing like some of the video, it's hard to put into words, like how everything looked and how many guests were there. There was probably 200 guests in Fog Alley alone,
if not more.
If not more, just lining the sides and going in. And this is all word of mouth. This is all something that we all talked about, you know, within backstage and private Facebook pages and everything, and but I think, you know, one person told one person, you know, and that telephone tag that took place, and having everybody there, but it was just, it was eerie, and it was beautiful, and it was like, it was something that you would witness in a graveyard, you know, with all the candles.
And the silence.
And the silence. All you could hear was the ambient music, which even then went silent for the most part. It was like it was just
the streets were saying goodbye to old friends.
Yeah, it was that silent moment with just the wind, you know, of Ghost Town, and maybe just a little bit of ambient sound, and looking over and seeing the Angel of Death come out of the fog and leading that pack up, and then everybody coming in. Now, I'm, like, small. I have been called names on the street.
Short King,
but also derogatory.
Yeah.
Short names, just because even if in my height, I bend down, you know. But, coming up, I couldn't see a lot, but even with you taking the souls, it was quiet. And it was quiet until you got to Morty. And once that fight with the vampire took place, that music got very dramatic. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as he was done, it quieted down again. So it was like, it was weird. It was like almost like the streets were saying goodbye as well.
It was like serendipitous.
Yeah, it really was.
Well, it was wild.
There's been a couple of guests that have reached out and said, "Did you guys plan the music?
Yeah.
Were you guys able to do that?" I was like, nope, it happened the way it happened.
Mm-hmm.
What did it look like from your point of view? Because, I mean, technically it's your fault that everyone looks like this, but...
Well, I'm pissed that people think they can leave Calico and just not come back, you know. No. It was a really surreal moment to follow everybody in that straight line and watching all of these people that I watched scare. I was very fortunate and honored to get to have the chance to scare with people that made me want to be a scare actor. And to see them walk down the alley was really, really... Yeah, there isn't really words for it. But seeing everybody with candles and the guests and just the silence. Like they say there's a 1,000 words for a photo, or
a picture's worth 1,000 words.
A picture's worth 1,000 words. Like the silence, what the silence said is... I don't know. I don't know how to articulate that properly, but to come up the rear and then watch all of the monsters fold in behind me like a silent charge for those monsters was magical in a way.
Yeah. I think there's and I wrote this on my story the other day too, but there's a certain level of dedication and respect that you have to have going into Ghost Town. And it's not an ego thing. It is just, we are upholding and protecting a legacy that has lasted for 50 years at this point. It is the oldest scare zone in the entire world that is consistent in a theme park. And that is something that a lot of the retirees have not taken lightly and have inspired us to carry on. It's like I said earlier, the sandbox that Knott has given us in terms of lore, we are building within it. And we're, like I told you, you're building monuments, we're building castles within what we've done. Some of the people that made that walk on Halloween night were the people that made sure that we knew it was okay to do that and to have fun.
They laid the groundwork.
They absolutely laid the foundation for us to do what we're doing today. So for Ghost Town to say goodbye in our own way, and for the streets to fall silent, whether you were a monster or a guest or a family member you had no fucking idea what was going on, I think should speak volumes to tradition and to what some of these people have done to make the event what it is. And you're right, the silence that did fall upon it, it wasn't like that awkward like cricket silence. It was haunting, and there was a lot of emotion behind it, because all we wanted to see was our friends who scared us when we were kids make their last walk, and watch them look at everybody and look at their surroundings like one last time as a group. And the only thing that we could do, knowing that this was a very difficult thing for them to do, and the decisions that they had to make this their last year, was to walk behind them and support them.
Yeah.
So in our own way, we said goodbye to our friends, because at the end of the day, they're more than our coworkers. And you now have a very hard job in protecting those souls, because you took them. It's your job to protect their memory.
Yeah. It's wild. I don't know. I don't really have a way to describe. I don't know. I don't even know how to articulate that idea became what it became. For me, it's like one of those things where I'm like, that became that. That was wild.
And when we were at the barbecue, which is, everyone's fired. We're all just there to reminisce and have a good time. We haven't had our banquet yet as of this recording. This will probably come out after banquet because I'm too busy. But someone told me there to make sure that you knew. And that Ace knew. So if you're listening to this, there was a lot of things that this person wanted to do with it being their last year. They had all these plans, these things that, this checklist of like a bucket list of things that they wanted to do before Halloween night. And not all of those got checked off. But being able to be a part and witness and experience that procession and see the love and the respect and the dedication that, should we all earn our spots back, are going to carry forward, it made it okay for them to leave. They knew that they had done their job and they had closure. And I don't think you can put a price on that. I don't think you can put a price on that type of experience. And to have that kind of closure on something that you have dedicated any amount of time to, but especially for people that have done 10, 15, 20, 25 plus years out there, people will sometimes try to minimize what we do and say that it's a minimum wage job, or that you dress up for 6 weeks. At the end of the day, that is not what we do. We put a lot of ourselves into our characters. We try to storytell. We try to be creatives. We try to honor those who have come before us, and we take things that our mentors have taught us and teach it to the new people that come in. They're the ones that have allowed us to do that. So our job now is to honor that.
Yeah. I don't think that I often say that I'm proud of myself for anything, but after the whole thing was said and done, and then going backstage and being able to talk to everyone that retired and being able to like hug everybody and have that moment with everyone and kind of say goodbye to those characters before the night was over, I'm proud of myself for having an idea that morphed into this with the help of Ace and you guys making sure the candles were there and like helping organize everything and getting everybody where they were supposed to be. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, I am proud to have been able to have been a part of something that gave them the respect that they deserved on their way out.
And this is something that's not a secret at any job, anywhere in the world. Not everyone likes each other. It's just a fact. Not everyone likes each other, especially in Haunt. You don't have to like each other. But in that moment, everyone put aside their personal bullshit and stood in a line to say goodbye.
Yeah. And
that should speak volumes on how much this means to people.
Yep.
It is not our whole identity, but it is an important, cool thing that we do, and we learned from the best. So we're going to treat it that way.
I think it just came down to respect. Respect for what people have done, respect for the job, and respect for the grounds that you stand on. And I've said it from day one. People who come on to Ghost Town, especially since we have so many spots at this point.
We are the biggest zone in the park.
We are the biggest zone, and we have some spots to fill. We
have immeasurable shoes to fill at this point.
No, I know, but I would just hope that people come on and realize that they stand on sacred ground. They stand on a legacy, and that just goes for not just Ghost Town, but the entire park.
Yeah.
You join Not Scary Farm, you join a legacy, and you stand on the shoulders of the people that came before you and made it what it is.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't think there's any better way to put it. I think you nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
And I know that we started this out like being hoodlums and stupids, talking about how all the funny stuff that had happened, but I really want to drive home this point because, this is kind of an emotional thing to talk about. This does matter to a lot of people, and I think this is a creative outlet for a lot of people. And if you ever want to join the legacy that has become Not Scary Farm, I highly encourage you to do so. Because when you join a tradition, and if you stay long enough, you're going to be the one passing this knowledge down to somebody else. And it does make a difference. This job helps me personally, my mental health, so much. I get to take the scary stuff inside of me and put it somewhere where it's safe. And I get to play around with my friends and scare people for 8 hours a night during the Halloween season. It's really cool. What we do is really, really cool. And I think that we, as a whole, the royal we, should never lose sight of that. Because I think, if COVID taught us anything, it sucked not being able to do it. It really did.
Well, I think COVID also taught us that you never know how long you have. So make the most of the life right now.
So I think that's it from us for right now. Talking about the 50th. This is almost 2 hours. It'll be less when I edit it. But with that being said, to all of the retirees, doesn't matter what maze or zone that you were in this year, we see you. We thank you for your years of dedication and your years of service and for inspiring the monsters that were originally fans because of you. So thank you for everything that you have done. Thank you to everybody listening. Thank you to all the people that are sitting in here and the green bean's up but sleeping on the fish pillow, and the dog finally settled down, and it only took 2 hours. So from all of us here doing this podcast, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for giving us a platform to speak on. And caw, pew pew, stab stab. I curse you, Calico. Oh no, 50 years and my wicked ways and whatever the fuck we ever want to say. I think that's it. I'm gonna go have a coughing attack. Anyone have anything else?
No.
Okay, bye.